Yeah. Hello, everyone, and welcome back for this week's episode of the Pavilion Perspective. I'm your showrunner, Anirudh, and I'm once again joined by two of my cricket crazy friends, Kanav and Pragun. I know the last intro was really not up to the mark, so let me introduce the voice once again. Kanav is a school pass out who's searching for good colleges, and Pragun has completed his course in journalism and is writing for a website these days. You can check out his articles in the link given below in the description. And interestingly, I met both of them through cricket only. While Kanav was there with me in a cricket coaching about 8 years ago, and my first interaction with Pragun was a bit different, as he just pinged me on Instagram after I wrote one of my first few blogs a couple of years ago, and things went pretty well after that. And recently, about 10 days ago, he put up an Instagram story sharing one of his articles, and at that time, I replied to him, and like we started with the idea of this podcast, and here we are with the second episode. So I'll start with Pragun. Would you like to say something about our intro and our bonding and your work particularly?
Uh, Actually, I don't think I had a relationship like that with anyone else.
Okay.
You shared one of your blogs around
Yeah.
2 years ago.
Yeah.
I asked you to join you and you declined. And uh, then we did not talk. And I don't know when was the last time we talked. And we talked for a long time. It was probably on one of the cricket things only.
Yeah.
And then after that, it was, I guess, around the last year's final when Gujarat won the IPL.
Yeah.
So, and then uh, after that, like you said, 10 days ago, I put up a story for one of my articles. Like I have started working, and you replied, you asked that have I got a full-time job, and I said yes. And then you came up with the idea that we should do the podcast.
Yeah.
I was I was very excited because I always wanted to do something like that, but I was lazy enough to do it myself.
And like it has helped me in a way because I was not able to maintain the consistency while asking the journalist to come, and it used to break my flow every time. So it was a pretty good idea to have my friends, because when you have got your friends talking about cricket, you can get informal and you can dive deep into the stats and speak fearlessly. And yeah, that's the thing. And even Kanav writes a blog. It's not about cricket, it's more about poetry. So Kanav, tell me a bit about your work.
Well, I started writing in 2021. That was our first blog. I used to write on moral values basically and things about that. I met Anirudh like 8 9 years ago when we used to play together in the same coaching, and like we used to be like the Ashwin Jadeja in that group. But
True, true,
but
true.
then he left, and I met him around, I guess, in 2020 or 19
Yeah,
something, and then we used to talk about cricket and other topics. So after a year and two, when you started the YouTube channel, I came up with the idea that we should have a podcast where we could keep our honest views and opinions,
yeah.
because bringing in a journalist, he also has some
Sugarcoating.
sugar-coated views.
Yeah.
Yes, which he could not say in front of a camera with a person who is just in a college. So yeah,
And like you talked about our meeting in 2019 or 20, it was very interesting. We both were living in different colonies, but coincidentally, we both moved from there, and coincidentally, we moved to the same society and same tower.
yeah. I remember I met you near the lift when I was coming
Yeah.
back from school. Yeah, I
Yeah.
remember.
Yeah, and so getting back to cricket, like after the last episode, we thought of talking more about Ashes and the World Cup qualifiers rather than Indian cricket, and maybe postpone that idea about those ideal changes we were talking about that Indian cricket requires for the next episode before the West Indies tour. But the Indian selectors came charging with a bucket full of masaledar ideas and topics and full of content to feed this episode. But again, as we were thinking about talking about Indian cricket, yesterday Zimbabwe defeated West Indies in the World Cup qualifier, and that victory means a lot to both the teams. And we'll before moving to that, we'll talk about Ashes. Just a quick roundup, and I would like to hear from both of you about the Ashes because the banter is getting too hot to handle these days.
Well, I believe when it was said that Australia will beat England by 5-0, I was kind of skeptical, because you see, you're playing in England and now they've changed their approach completely. They're playing a different brand of cricket, and they have been preparing pitches like that. Yeah, like we've seen in the first test, it was kind of a pitch you do not expect to have in England. But still, I guess both teams played very well, and I believe this Ashes would be as competitive as it can get. I believe. Yeah, I will end up.
Even James Anderson after the match said, if these are the pitches which will be prepared for the Ashes, I'm done with the Ashes. Imagine Ashwin saying about Indian subcontinent. If we start preparing batting wickets instead of those, I would say a lot drier wickets, how much of a troll he will face. And Pragun, your thoughts?
Personally, I don't think Ashwin would say something like that.
Yeah, just
Ashwin considers
imagining.
himself as a Ashwin considers himself as a batter. He would fancy getting 100 there. And my
True.
opinion is that I don't think the baseball approach they will be sticking up to it.
Oh,
The baseball approach was basically that we play Moeen Ali because we think he is a batter who can get us some quick runs and
yeah,
can hold one in. And just I guess yesterday only they added Rehan Ahmed for the Lord's
yeah,
Test squad.
yeah,
And I think they have gone back to the choice that they should have made before picking up Moeen Ali. You can't have a spinner who last played a first class match 2 years ago and that too, and the next game is 2 years later against Australia, who are ground world champions. Now they have picked the player that they should have picked in the first test, and they should have picked for the whole 5 match series.
but I think
I
the
believe that
main
the next 4 matches,
mentality behind calling Moeen Ali back was like he's a seasoned spinner. He has a lot of experience. Plus, Australia have like four lefties in the top seven, right? Which India missed out on. But yeah, that's how I would justify his comeback. I know they should have gone with the test specialist, and you have to move forward, right? You're not Indian team who takes backward steps now and then.
Well, basically, if you want to bring an off spinner, then bring one which is playing the county cricket. Like, don't do that mistake which we do as when we don't bring a player from a Ranji cricket, Ranji trophy, like from domestic cricket. And we all know that county cricket is one of I guess I believe it is one of the best platforms we have in the domestic cricket if we talk about test. And I guess you could have bring a spinner from that area because I believe there will be more better spinners than Moeen Ali. That's what I believe.
Surely.
they could have still had Joe Root as their off spinner, right?
True. He's a very good spinner.
True.
Yeah. So to quickly wind up this Ashes thing, what are your predictions for the series? Australia won the first game. Do you think they'll win the series as well?
Uh, well, it will be competitive, but I will go with Australia winning it 3-1, I guess.
3-1. One will be a
3-1.
draw.
Yeah, one will be a draw because I want to say Labuschagne gets concussion substitute and another player comes in. So
Pragun, your thoughts?
I have the same prediction: 3-1 to Australia, and the Manchester Test will be draw. It's Manchester it will bring.
Oh, that's good. Like you're following it very passionately, I think.
Now it's my job.
I
I have to.
true. But I won't
so,
predict a score line. I'm not good at that.
you predict a score and it will happen opposite. So you can give it in favor of England. I
No,
won't
I
mind.
don't want England to win. Okay,
Okay,
so
okay.
yeah, moving from Ashes, let's talk about the World Cup qualifiers. As I said, West Indies lost the game against Zimbabwe and means a lot to both the teams. So, what do you think? Firstly, I'll ask Pragun, what do you think? How do you think it will affect West Indies' chance? Because as we know, the points from this current group will be carried forward to Super Six.
I believe obviously West Indies will be on the back foot. As we speak today, the current favorites to qualify are Sri Lanka and Zimbabwe,
Yeah.
in my opinion. But the thing is, when Darren Sammy joined the team,
Hmm.
he joined the West Indies team. I believe that he's someone who can lift their spirit up. And I believe, obviously, if we talk today, then Sri Lanka and Zimbabwe are favorite. But I guess Zimbabwe could lose a match against Ireland, Netherlands, and West Indies, and they have to play West Indies again. It's not like they can't lose to.
Zimbabwe don't have to play West Indies again.
They have to play in Super Six now.
No, in Super Six, you have to play the top three teams from the other group.
Okay.
So, but still, I believe that anything could happen. Maybe Sri Lanka beats
Was that a
Zimbabwe with
loophole in your
big
job?
margin. We don't care much
Well,
about the qualifiers.
actually, the system gets complicated sometimes. So
Yeah.
I can understand.
Yeah. And Kanav, as I talked about West Indies and Zimbabwe, and as we all know that Sri Lanka are now runaway favorites to qualify for the tournament. But let's consider the scenario: Sri Lanka lose to West Indies, and Sri Lanka defeats Zimbabwe, in that case, we'll have a three-way tie at the top of the table, provided a team like Netherlands doesn't play a spoil sport like they played against South Africa in the last World Cup. But if that happens, we'll have a three-way tie between West Indies, Sri Lanka, and Zimbabwe at the top of the table, and it will be like the top two teams will be decided based on the net run rate. So
Net run rate.
how do you think Sri Lanka's chances are affected?
Well, I believe Sri Lanka chances are very bright at this point if we take your scenario because we have seen how they're playing. If you see both the groups, they're playing the best cricket around them. Like you have Asaranga who's picking up two fifers in two matches. You
Yeah,
have batsmen performing. Even on our recording time, the match they have a match against Ireland and they have a good start. So I guess Sri Lanka would be if even if they drop a game against Zimbabwe or against West Indies, they still hold up pretty good chances and they have aces in their hands. Unless and until they decided to mess it up, like what West Indies did against Zimbabwe.
like you mentioned, Ireland, they're playing Sri Lanka today, and I feel very bad for Ireland because it's a team that on its days it defeats a team like England in their home. This team defeated West Indies in their home about a year ago. They defeated them in an ODI series 2-1. And to see this team fail like this, they have lost miserably in this tournament. You've got players like Paul Sterling who have so much experience. You've got Joshua Little who played for Gujarat Titans for a couple of months. He was bowling so poorly in this last match against Scotland where they lost on the last ball. So that really hurts. What do you think about it?
Personally, I think it's the pressure. They know that there are teams like Sri Lanka and West Indies, now
Hmm.
Zimbabwe also, and only two of those teams would go. So Ireland had the pressure of doing something extra, and that is the thing I want to bring it up that we can't have a 10 team tournament if we want to grow our sport. ICC keeps on going to the Olympic associations to get cricket
Yeah,
into Olympics. But if they don't increase the number of teams in the Cricket World Cup, then the case would be the same. Olympics would keep denying because they don't see the sport as a
globally.
as a
Yeah,
famous sport in every country. And
yeah.
I guess it is high time that we should look at least a 14 team tournament instead of just a 10 team tournament.
14 team tournament we'll have from the next time, but I think 14 is also a small number. I recently
Obviously,
read an Instagram post. It said the next FIFA World Cup will have 48 teams, and this ODI World Cup will have 48 matches. So that's how far we are from football, right?
Yeah, yeah. Well,
But
even if you see the Asia Cup we have less teams than the football have. Like we have just six teams. We have six teams and they are divided into two groups.
I
So
think Asia Cup
and
is just a tournament that aims to give fans a three-match series between India and Pakistan, which both teams consistently fail to do so. And it's an interesting fact, never in the history of Asia Cup, India and Pakistan have played in the final. If I'm not wrong, I might be wrong, but if I'm not wrong, that's the fact. And it's so miserable. They put up a small team like Nepal or Hong Kong in Pakistan's group so that we get at least two matches between India and Pakistan.
I agree.
that helps
Okay, yeah,
Pakistan only because India doesn't take any revenue from the Asia Cup.
yeah, true.
So it helps basically mostly it helps Pakistan and Sri Lanka.
Yeah. And then they are doing
Yeah.
this that we won't play the ODI World Cup or this or that. But yeah, I understand from the sports perspective. From the sports perspective, India should not do like this that we won't travel to Pakistan or things like that. If you don't want to travel to Pakistan, I mean, I have a genuine question. The president of Asian Cricket Council is Jaisha, and Jaisha is the secretary of BCCI as well. So if his country doesn't want to tour Pakistan, why are you allotting them to create ruckus at the end? Okay, I
But
think we
I am
shifted
think
from the World Cup qualifiers. We were talking about World Cup qualifiers. So, yeah, at the end, I want to know your predictions. Which teams do you think will qualify for the World Cup that is to be played in October, November? If you'd asked this question about 2 days ago, we would surely say West Indies and Sri Lanka. But what are your thoughts at the moment?
I believe I will go with Sri Lanka and Zimbabwe for the moment because West Indies, we have known that West Indies always mess it up when it comes to important games.
Yeah.
Like, and the main problem is that their batting doesn't show up when it is most required. So I believe until and unless and at this moment, I believe Sri Lanka and Zimbabwe have pretty much game in their hand to get qualify,
Hmm.
because they have a pretty much good advantage of winning three group matches. So yeah.
My two teams are Sri Lanka and West Indies. I see a Zimbabwe losing against Sri Lanka, like you said, and
Yeah.
West Indies beating Sri Lanka. And I believe in the Darren Sammy mentality.
Okay. Darren Sammy gave a very good interview to Crickbuzz if you read it after the match. And he said that I
Yeah,
have come with a goal. I'm not somebody like I wouldn't name. I wouldn't name. I was going towards Indian cricket, but I wouldn't name anybody. But he has come with a plan that he wants to revolutionize West Indies cricket. He wants to bring some sort of mentality and playing standards with the team. So yeah, I would agree with Pragun. I don't think Zimbabwe will qualify, even though I want a small team to come to India and play the World Cup. But I think West Indies might pip themselves. Yeah.
Just to add
So
one more thing,
yeah,
uh, if Zimbabwe qualifies,
yeah.
I think they have a better chance in Indian conditions than West Indies, to be honest.
Okay,
I,
that's a good
I
point.
agree.
But you will
I
need to
agree.
justify to that.
Sikandar Raza can do
I
anything.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, even and Sikandar Raza has just played IPL, so
Yeah.
that can come into hand.
But I think all of the West Indies player have played the IPL, right?
No, the players who play IPL don't play for West Indies.
No,
Like
no.
Maya doesn't play.
But on this occasion, they do have players like Kyle Mayers, Jason Holder, and all those people. But yeah. But I get your point. The stalwarts of West Indies cricket are busy making money, and the team is being lagging behind. But yeah, and there's one more interesting thing that we have heard, that if West Indies qualify for the finals, we know how irrelevant the final is. So four of the top players who are a part of the test team for the India series will leave the team before the finals and they'll join their test team in Dominica. So with that, I hint you towards the India's tour of West Indies. And now finally, we'll talk about India's tour of West Indies. The squad was announced a few days ago and it had a few surprising calls. The biggest of them was Ajinkya Rahane's appointment as the vice captain of the test team. We were talking about how Indian cricket is obsessed with taking backward steps instead of moving forward, and see Rahane is back as the deputy. What do you make up of this decision, Kana?
I mean, it was kind of obvious because, as I said in the previous video also, that I personally believe in Test cricket we don't have a better captain than Virat Kohli. I still believe yes, Rohit Sharma has done in IPL and in white ball cricket. That's a separate thing, but I still believe there is no better captain than Virat Kohli at the moment. Like, you don't have, like, if you see the 15-member squad, you can't point at
You
someone and
mean
say
to
that
say
this.
Ajinkya Rahane?
No, I mean, even if Ajinkya Rahane is not the captain, my point is that you don't have a captain and a vice captain other than these two guys.
Okay.
Even if we take Rohit Sharma as a current captain, we don't have a player who is like in his 25 or 26, is in his that age, and we could pick him as a captain because we don't have that luxury with us. And I don't know why we don't have that, but yeah, that's why they have picked Ajinkya Rahane as the vice captain. I believe that will be their mentality. But I guess now, as we have lost two WTC finals, we should take a step forward, and we should like keep in mind that Rohit Sharma is going to retire in like couple of years. So who will be the next captain? If vice captain is not that relevancy, like yes, I got the point that you asked the question about vice captain, but I am explaining it as a whole, because even in for a vice captain you can't say that I would go with a Mohammad Siraj to keep as a vice captain because he's still young at the international cricket.
But I think that see, the point is, like you said, you don't have a ready-made vice captain. You need time. But after 6 months as well, who do you think will be your vice captain? These same players will play right. Now, since Ajinkya Rahane is back as the vice captain, you won't have Shreyas Iyer coming back into the team directly. You are not going to drop, I think, Rohit Sharma after this tour for the South Africa tour. He will be playing unless he is injured as usual. But see, the point is, you don't have a ready-made captain right now, I understand, but these are the same set of players that will play after a year as well, right? So if you have to take a call after a year, take it right now. You have to give an impression. You
And
need to send a message to the fans and to the players as well.
and
Currently,
you
your
see,
captain is 36 years old and your vice captain is 35. Where are you going? I mean,
yeah,
who are these guys fooling around?
and see and you see that I will not be surprised if Ajinkya Rahane doesn't perform in this test and he is dropped again, because I don't know what is going on in BCCI mind process. Like, you are just messing it up from like last 1 2 years. You don't know what set of players you want to select. Okay, you have selected the place, but you don't know whom to get the responsibility to handle that team. I believe they took at yes, they took a great call of appointing Hardik Pandya as the white ball captain. Though Rohit Sharma was injured in that phase, but still it was a good call. But you have to see that we have a problems in our management, as Pragun mentioned in the last video. So I personally want to know what's going on in their head.
Um, like we talked about the futuristic approach. I was talking to one of my friends a few days ago, and he told me a very good thing. We always keep talking about we should have a futuristic approach, we should think of long term. And he told me a very good thing. Your coach has a contract for a couple of years. Your selectors have a contract for a year or a couple of years. So how can you think that those people will take a tough call? Like their tenure is for a year or a couple of years. Why do they want to have that blame on themselves? You're getting it. So I think the problem is that your selectors and your coach cannot take that call because of this current scenario where these people have got a very less time span in their respective positions. These are the calls that are usually taken by captain. But we are in a scenario where we don't know who is our captain. Like I'll have a genuine opinion from you guys. Do you think Rohit Sharma will lead India in the WTC 2025 final, provided we qualify? And let's be honest, are we 100% sure that will happen?
I don't think so. I don't think so. We will qualify, but if we do qualify,
Okay.
then because this time South Africa has a good chance. I
Yeah.
think if they play up to their potential, they should be qualifying with the number one position.
Yeah.
But coming back to the leadership, I believe if we qualify, then I still see Rohit Sharma as the captain. Although he could be injured, like you said, he is always injured.
Yeah.
So he could be injured, and it will be after the IPL. So anyone could be injured, and anyone could get the captaincy, because we only look at the IPL stats and IPL performances to choose our testing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree.
And like you told that WTC final is after the IPL, I was thinking, you know it right now that the next final will be played at Lords. Even Oval has that batting conditions, but Lords is properly a bowler's wicket, especially on day one and day two. So if you have that long term mentality, so if you have that long term mentality, you would send your players, especially your batters, to play county cricket in June. If it's this June or the next June, or maybe your players were not playing in the IPL, you will send them to play county and have that experience. But you won't do so because you don't have that long term vision.
I have one very
I know
interesting thing
Pujara
to
went
add.
and failed, but yeah,
I have one very interesting thing to add on this.
yeah,
So Navdeep Saini,
yeah,
he is in the test squad, if you have seen.
yeah,
At 10:28 a.m., Worcestershire
yeah,
said that we have signed Navdeep Saini for 4 matches.
yeah,
At 10:30 a.m., BCCI picked him up for the white ball tour and the test team, ruling him out of from the 3 matches. What
yeah.
is the point?
And
They don't
and
wa-
he's not
the
guaranteed a
players
place in the team there as well.
the players already don't want to play county, and if by chance we have
Yeah.
someone who is playing county, we take that opportunity from him. I'm glad at least Arjit Singh is there.
I think Arshdeep is
Yeah.
out of the team because there might be any disciplinary issue, because I don't think anything else that might have led to his drop from the team.
What he has done as a disciplinary action, like it's saying that Virat Kohli has a bad aggression sometimes, and you drop him out of the team
Yeah.
in his initial years when he showed the middle finger to the stadium crowd when he was hitting. So
Yeah,
I
I put up
guess
an
I mean,
Instagram story regarding this as well after that Naveen and Kohli fiasco, if you remember.
yeah, I believe, yeah, I've seen it.
Yeah. And I think I'll ask Pragun, what are the other issues you see in the squad?
The biggest issue is that we have picked 4 openers. We have picked
Okay.
Yashasvi
Yeah.
Jaiswal, we have picked Rohit Sharma, obviously is the captain. We have picked Shubman Gill. I think there is nothing wrong with that. and we
Yeah,
have picked Rituraj Gaikwad.
Ruturaj.
I think the biggest step back was Rituraj Gaikwad. He averages
Okay.
42 in first class cricket. He has not played Ranji Trophy for 2 seasons.
Okay.
So
That is something
it's not like
I was not aware.
he is playing red ball cricket in front of Rohit Sharma, and Rohit Sharma is selecting him. I don't know what is happening there.
Yeah.
Uh, if you had to pick a fourth opener, you should have gone to someone like Abhimanyu Easwaran. He opens for
Yeah.
a Bengal team. He's the seventh highest run scorer in the Ranji Trophy this season. He has scored 798 runs in 8 innings. And obviously you shouldn't have picked an opener. There was no need of it.
Yeah.
I believe that you could have, because you are trusting Rahane now. I think you push Rahane to the number 3 spot, because Pujara is also not there, and
Mhm.
that is also another issue why Pujara is not there. So you push someone like Rahane to the number 3 spot, and then you pick a middle order batter. And when we talk about middle order batter, there is no question of Sarfaraz Khan not being there. He
Yeah.
should have been there. He has been scoring runs. He has been scoring runs in every season. Like in this season, he has an average of close to 100. In the previous season, he has an average of more than 120. These numbers are these numbers are baffling. His first class average is second to only Don Bradman.
Yeah.
Why is he not getting picked? He should be in the team. And it's not like he has scored on flat wickets. He has scored when his team lost early wickets, and then he has scored.
Yeah.
Why was Rituraj Gaikwad picked? Was it only because of he was playing good in IPL? I don't get it.
Um, yeah, I get your point of view. Um, I think, I mean, I've been saying this for a long time. Sarfaraz should be there. There's no doubt about it. Even if you don't play him, at least get him in the team, right? You can get him in the team.
In place of KS Bharat,
Okay, Shrikar
I will.
Bharat is another point of debate, but I think we'll talk about him before the West Indies tour actually starts. Right now, I'll talk about Virat Kohli because Crickbuzz posted an article, and Crickbuzz, in their article, while announcing the squad, after the squad announcement, they wrote that Virat Kohli has managed to hold on to his place in the Test team, and we know to the what reputation Crickbuzz holds. So if a website like Crickbuzz is saying that, what does it mean for you?
I believe that Crickbuzz has also lost some of its credibility,
Okay,
because I remember when the whole IPL final was going on, no one knew we have a reserve day or what would happen, and
okay,
what will be the thing if the reserve day also washes out. Crickbuzz said that Gujarat Titans will win,
yeah, but they
and
updated it after
after
a minute, right?
they updated, but there is some issues with Crickbuzz also lately. Like if you would have asked me a year ago, I think Crickbuzz was the
Yeah,
best we have in our Indian cricket
yeah,
community. But and I believe that they have said the right thing, that Virat Kohli has managed to retain his spot. And I think yes, Pujara should have been dropped.
yeah,
But if we are dropping Pujara, then there is a question of other guys also.
yeah,
You clearly say that you are also on a thin line. You clearly mention it to Virat Kohli or Rohit Sharma or even Rahane, because if Cummins' foot would have been half inch in, Rahane wouldn't have
yeah.
scored that 89 runs. He
So
would have been dismissed under 15 runs,
true.
and we would have bashed
Yeah,
BCCI for playing him.
yeah,
So there should be a clear communication and give them that threat. But we all know no one has that. I don't want to say that
yeah,
no one has the
yeah.
balls to give a threat like that to Virat Kohli or Rohit Sharma or even Ajinkya Rahane. I think
But
they
I
are all
think
treated like
there
gods because
there might be like there's a very less chance, but I think there might be a call taken after England visits India. I know there are a lot of test
Uh,
matches, 5 + 2 + 2, 9 matches are there. If he fails to score 100, a dominant 100 in those 9 matches, there might be a call taken.
um, I want to add this point. I guess everyone forgets why we won the last World Cup and last Champions Trophy, because we drop players, which either we drop players or we give that fear to that those senior players that
Yeah,
that you will get dropped if you will not perform. Just say,
yeah, I get your point. You have to be brutal,
just say.
right? I mean, I know that captain has a lot of stake in the team, but at some point in time, your selectors have to be that strict. But again, we know how strict they were during that 2021 squad selection, and Virat Kohli decided to resign from the captaincy. And I know that squad was very poor. I can bet everything on this. Virat Kohli did not pick players like Varun Chakravarti and Rahul Chahar over Yuzvendra Chahal. And I think you would agree as well. He's not that big a fool as a captain.
I mean,
obviously
Chahal played for RCB like for years. So
I
and
mean,
he
it's not about
bowled at
RCB,
those
but I'm
wickets.
talking about the
No,
quality of the players.
no. My point is that he has seen him like a player like Virat Kohli. He is a so senior player. So like and he is you will see his chest. He is bowled on those RCB wickets
Yeah.
and he got success. So okay, I'm not saying as a personal favor, but as a team perspective, you could have picked him and you could have played at least 1 and 2 matches if you don't have so much faith in him. Yeah.
Okay. I think if we continue talking about all those blunders that have been made, we'll make a 5-part series, and I think 5-part series would be very less. We can keep going on, but I think at some point in time we have to end, and I think we have reached that point. So with that, we'll end this podcast, and I hope the audience liked it, they loved it, and I would request them to share it if they have managed to hold on to this point in time after 30 or some minutes that we've been talking about. So yeah, and once again, thank you Pragun and Kana for joining. We'll see in the next episode. Thank you.